The codes for all this stuff.
Call the town council meeting to order, October 12th. Janelle, please take the roll.
Councilmember Barker? Here. Councilmember Brown? Here. Councilmember Lowell? Here. Councilmember Michelson?
Here.
Mayor Gibson?
Here, pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there any public comment on anything that's not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll go to approval of minutes, 9/28. Councilmember Michaels.
I make a motion to approve the town council meeting minutes of 9/28/2023.
Okay,
I'll second that.
Councilmember Lowell is second. Is there any public comment on the minutes? Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, Janelle, please take the vote.
Councilmember Barker? Aye. Councilmember Brown? Aye. Councilmember Lowell?
Aye.
And Councilmember Michelson?
Aye.
Passes 4-0. We'll go to approval of biweekly claims, 18,605 through 18,627. I don't have, does that include the additions?
No, that doesn't.
Okay.
The additions would go from 18,628 to 18,633. I have highlighted that in your packet.
Okay. So with that, do we have a motion?
Okay.
Councilmember Michelson.
Make a motion to approve the biweekly claims number 18605 to 18627, 18630, 18631, 18632, and 18633.
Okay. Councilmember Barton.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any public comment on the claims? Discussion on the claims? Any discussion on the claims? Okay, seeing none, Janelle, please take the vote.
Councilmember Barker?
Aye.
Councilmember Brown? No. Councilmember Lowell?
Aye.
And Councilmember Michelson?
Aye.
Passes 3-1. We'll go to Will, the airport manager is out of state. We'll just start with the fire department.
So in your packet, you do have a copy of the stats for the month of September. 17 town calls, 48 in the district, 0 mutual aids. We did 58 medical responses, 2 fire calls, and 5 motor vehicles for 65 calls for the month. Right now, we're running at at the end of September, we're at 522, which we're on pace to be right about 700 for the year. Up just slightly over last year, if pace continues the way it was. We've been out, we did the community events, we got one coming up again tomorrow, and we're getting ready to do our October fire safety month up at the school, so pretty much business as usual in the fire department. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Chief Schaefer.
Actually, we covered 2 months now. I don't know if all of you, but our systems were down after our move. We had some technical issues, but we're all back online now. So last month, we had 1 arrest, 8 traffic citations, 40 traffic warnings, and 47 calls for service. In September, we had another arrest, 3 traffic citations, 33 warnings, and 36 calls for service. The reason the calls were down is because there was only 2 of us, that's around myself. An officer was on maternity and Chief Sussa left. So we have fewer people that run the streets. That's why our calls dip so low. But Officer Franson is back from maternity leave. Kid's doing good. He's ready for duty. Officer Copsat is taking on the SRO role full on. She wants to continue that path, so she's in there, and Officer Franson will be on night shift from now on. So other than that, we're moving ahead full steam.
Thank you, Todd. Public Works Director's out of state. We do have one guest from Montana Department of Transportation, if you just want to come up, say who you are.
Yes, that's me. I'm Joel Boucher. I'm the district pre-construction engineer for NBT for Stevensville District. Bob sends his apologies. He apologizes that he can't be here. It's kind of a crazy week for him. But updates from our end, Stevensville, north of Stevensville North project, probably the biggest one from us. We're getting closer on that. We're still waiting for final hydraulic design on the roundabout. Once that's completed, we'll be able to get that negotiated and done for that, so then we can finish the design through that. Hopefully that'll be in the next couple of years. I think it's on the 25 or the 26 is what we're looking at funding for that. We're working on our funding in about 2 weeks here. We'll finalize that. So we're looking at that. I know there were some questions about getting some sidewalks painted through town. And I was told that weather permitting, we're looking at getting those done this fall. And that's our plan. The four-way stop sign, with that is back on our radar. We apologize, there's been a lot of shuffling with positions and.
You're talking Second and Main.
I'm actually not sure where they are. I gotta sit back down with Bob and get all that lined out.
Yeah, we sent a letter to the.
Yes.
Second and Main, and then we talked before about the issue on East Side Highway in Maine.
Okay. Yeah, he said there was 2 more spots, so we'll be looking at those. Yeah, once again, I apologize that would be my responsibility. I didn't get the memo when I got filled in this new position. Been here since January in this position, so it's still learning for me. I think that's all I had from Bob. So unless you guys have any questions for him.
No, I'll just hope we follow up on
Yes.
Second and Main and East Side and Logan.
I absolutely will. Yeah, we got the letter. Bob sent it to me. I actually got the email
Okay,
because I was headed down today. So
appreciate it.
that will be taken care of, and we'll be able to follow up and take care of that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Absolutely. Well, thank you.
Okay, no correspondence. We're going to get into the public hearing for the budget. I think what we'll do, Robert, is, as we talked, we just want to do a presentation, and then we'll open it up to public comment. And then as we go through this process, if the council wishes to propose amendments, that's fine. Whether you want to take out, whether you want to add in, have an idea where the money comes from. It's just pretty tight. I'm just going to give a brief overview of where we could have been. When I first got here, and Mr. Michelson, you were here, Stacy, you were here, Cindy, you were here. There was a transportation contract that was a little vague. It wasn't with the Department of Transportation. $95,000. Didn't do it. There was a contract, $26,000 a year for my sidewalk, which none of the staff used, wasn't necessary. Didn't do it. $11,000 Target Solutions, staff didn't use, didn't do it. Past 2 audits that were past due, we were kind of held hostage, cost us $140,000. There was an administrative assistant position out here. There was a community development position. There was a couple other positions, never filled. It looks like those positions were filled with one-time CARES money. The money wasn't there. There was a sale of land, I don't know, 3 years ago. Bob, can you remember that, how long ago it was?
Yes, 2000 and.
I think it was $250,000 30,000? Money wasn't there. I assume it was to pay for positions that weren't funded. In my opinion, it should have been in, we've discussed this, just like the fire department, the chief should have been put into capital. It wasn't. It's gone. COVID money, during that COVID time, the police officers' salaries were paid with COVID money. So that was probably another 200,000. So with all that in mind, we're in pretty good shape. It's tight. But think of where we could have been. Think of where we could have been. That's all I have. Robert?
Okay, I'd like to add one more thing to that, the cost of inflation in the last 2 years, it really took a hit on the town. Things have gone up, fuel's gone up, and the revenue is not matched that, so just keep that in mind too, when you see why we say we're tight. Couple, pro admin notes real quick. I know there's some questions about the difference between the funds, account, and object. The funds is really what the council worries about, the accounts is what the mayor worries about, and the objects is really what the department head worries about. The department head can move around money within the object funds. It's just the object allows us to track kind of where we spend our money that year, so next year we know what we spent our money on, but it's not locked into that object fund, if that makes sense. And then sometimes we'll have to put a new object code in there if we spend money on something different, so we remember next year.
And those object codes, I printed out for you, and they're on the desk there. And that's what he's talking about as far as the object codes.
And the easiest way to look at that, the 100s are personnel, 200s are the things you buy, and the 300s are services that you go get. You go certain contract for. And that's how you get products and services. Okay, also in the budget, in this budget, there is a 40-cent raise per employee, which would start on January 1. It's really a 20-cent raise if you did the whole year. And when you look at my sheet, I'll explain that because that's the way I figured it out. In this budget, there is no overtime for any employee. One of the things we're going to have to stop doing is using the matrix developed by Dewey, because those have not kept up with the times. It's not like they were developed 3 years ago, and if we give a raise, and if you guys give a raise now, and then they go back on the same raise they would get over a certain time, then they get 2 raises in a year. And that's up to you. One of the things we did was we combined the gas tax and the Barca tax based on what the state came back with us. This last year, they combined the two funds and they gave us one check. And now we do not have to apply it for Barca money anymore. They just give it to us monthly. And it just goes into the gas Barca fund now. In this budget, we recommend closing the Economic Development Fund and moving that $22,000 to the general fund. We have not used the Economic Development Fund in 2+ years. That was something Dewey put in, and it kind of died out when he left. Oh, and no, but let's go back up. Number 5, we've added $13,000 to the firefighter retirement fund. That money the town gives to the firefighters so they can manage their retirement accounts.
Could I ask a question? Where did you come up with the 13,000?
It comes out actually the figures that they come up with, the amount they have to have in the fund. It's not done by an actuary, which we used to get findings all the time on audit with that, but they didn't find us last year. I think they got rid of that requirement because it's just too costly and effective for a small department to go get an actuary to figure out what it is. And so they gave us some figures based on what's in the account, how much they spend, and that's the number that they came up with, 13,000.
Could I ask Jeff how many retirees you have now? Do you know?
I believe it's 8.
8. And how much do they get?
I mean, it varies amongst the different retirees. We have some that retired early, some had a part-time pension, and some had a 30-year pension, so they're getting the highest. So it varies from 150 to 225.
Okay, it hasn't changed much then. Do you feel that you're kind of short in that fund because of not planning for people to be retiring? I mean, is that what happened, or?
No, the legislature changed the matrix on how that fund needed to be funded. And so they changed that, and we've been having to spend down our balance in our account over the last 7 years. So we've not asked for any funds for the past 7 years. We're now at the positions where we have to maintain a minimum amount to be a soundly funded fund account. And that's when that $13,000 comes in. That will cover expenses and payouts to retirees for the fiscal year, plus keep us above the minimum amount I have in that.
Okay. And plan on however many more, you can always get with the auditor and tell them, I have 3 more people retiring, how do you keep that?
I would be the next retiree available to retire, and then after myself, it's another 7 years before.
Okay, so that's not like a bunch of them, okay,
Right, and we've lost, we lost 1 retiree this year, 1 payout this year. So
okay, that answers my question, thank you.
Councilmember
Can I
Michael.
ask a question, Jeff? Hey, Jeff? Is this retirement part of the rural too? I think it was in 14 or 15 where we pay for the part of the rural's retirement too, what they call it, double dipping or whatever.
We do not pay for the rural retirement, that's all paid out of the state, they have a state retirement plan. All we do is we pay for those members that meet the qualifications of years of service and hours per year to get a qualified year for retirement.
So we do pay for some of those.
There is a chance that, yes, a member of the district could be on the town retirement plan, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And that was put in play by a resolution back, some years ago.
Yeah, 15 or 14 right now.
Go ahead, Robert.
Okay, also in this budget, we transfer $5,750 to the ambulance fund because it was underfunded and in a negative balance, and $700 to the capital fund. Again, it was a negative balance after last year. We are transferring $9,650 from to the airport fund, from the TED fund. We do that every year to cover their loan to Montana Aeronautics. We're also transferring $5,500 from both the water and sewer funds to the general fund to cover the cost of the fuel. Instead of trying to, when we get the fuel bill, we just use one fund for all the fuel for public works and for water and sewer, since they're just kind of all combined. So water and sewer pays their fair share. We're also transferring $494,732 from the water bond fund to the water project fund to cover the ARPA match for the street projects. We already had a resolution last year doing that. This is continuing on since we haven't spent the money.
Somebody asked, the bid has been published. I think
They were yesterday.
November, what is the final date?
They will close that on November 3rd at 10:30 in the morning. And that's the first part of that project. Yes.
And we're still waiting on the bids for the streets, which comes out of the bars to the Senate bill, whatever, all that money. Go ahead, Robert.
Okay, the next 3 are kind of all the same. It's to try to clean up the water and bond funds, to combine the water fund and water bond fund, and combine the sewer and sewer bond fund. The auditor says it does no good to keep an extra fund because they just combine them all together. Even like Missoula, they have different districts. They look at it all together. The bond is just an expense of the system. And so we're building up a lot of revenue in the bond funds, which makes it look like the sewer fund or the sewer and water fund are not making enough money. So it kind of skews us off a little bit. And so I recommend we combine them together. Also on the water bill, I would recommend dropping the bond line and adding it to both bond lines, adding it to the OMN line and keeping it the same price. One thing to keep it clear. Because the price we pay on the bond line for the bonds are not what the cost of the bond is. It just has been like that in 5 years, and no one's changed it. So that would just clean up the system a lot easier. And the last one, the budget keeps funding 3 police officers at their salary and then hiring the police chief in the March, April timeframe. And the last one, final thought, I'll let you guys read that, okay? The next, is the sheet which is kind of lays it out for you, the revenue compared to the expenses sheet. Okay, and on the right-hand side, you have all our funds, and then you have, the cash at the beginning of this year, proposed revenues, proposed expenditures, and the remaining cash at the end of the year, and I'll go through this and read a little, these main numbers. And then the reserve amounts of what we're supposed to have at the end of the year in those accounts, okay? So the big ones for the whole town, we started out with about 3.7 million. We're gonna get about 4.6 million, we're gonna spend 5.4 million. Okay, that's gonna draw down about 800,000. But of that drawdown, 494,000 is the water project, so it's not as bad as it looks on the drawdown. So if we go just by the main fund, the general fund, which most everybody's concerned about, we have about $430,000 in the general fund. We're gonna get about 832,000 in revenue, and we have expenditures about 992,000. That's a drop of about 160,000 in the drawdown. We'll still meet our reserve amount of 248,000 by a little over 41,000. So we're still pretty good in the general fund. And that's not adding in the money from the economic development fund of 22,000 yet. Okay, so if we do that, will clean that up, and we'll still have some money left over for next year. Not above the maximum reserve amount, but we'll be fine. The next one I would probably draw your attention to is, once again, we're drawing down the building code fund account, which is kind of a good thing, because we always get nailed for having too much money in that fund. We're drawing that down by about 20,000. Let's see, the economic development. One thing you'll notice, if you look at the water and the sewer funds, the water fund is taking about $172,000 hit. Okay, that's what it appears like it, just if you're looking at the water fund. And the sewer fund is coming up about $4,000. So we're making money in this sewer fund, we're losing money in the water fund. Once you add the bond money to it, it doesn't look as bad in the water fund, but we're still losing about 50K in the water fund when you add the water bond to it. The biggest concern of the whole thing would be the airport fund. It starts out about 89,000. It spends down, and in the end, they're gonna end up about 16,000. And they're gonna have a hard time next year if we don't find some revenue for them. So that's kind of a big overview picture of the funds. Any questions with that? Yeah.
On your water fund,
Yep.
is it due to a lot of overdue billings?
We've been losing money in the water fund for the last 4.5 years. And they even cut it on the audit. We're not keeping up with the amount of revenue we should be making in our system. And so that was the audit finding last year. I think after the budget passed, and then I think out there that maybe, beginning of the next year, they need to look at raising the rates, or doing a rate study and finding out where the rates need to be, so we don't have another audit finding, and make sure we're building that fund up so we can do the water project like we're doing right now. Same with the sewer.
It just seems so foreign to me that the water would be, because that's a pretty easy, self-sufficient fund, and I just can't understand how it's losing.
Well, we have some other issues, and Melanie's not here. Gina's been dealing with Janelle, Robert. It goes back to this meter thing. We've got false readings way up, false readings down. They're peaking this summer. People are getting bills that are still $83, which obviously should be more. But then on the flip side, we've had people get a bill for $1,000.
$6,000.
So it's still an issue, and as you know, you approved those new meters. They're not here yet,
Oh, okay.
but there's some real problems with how these bills are being read. And when Melanie's back, we're probably gonna have a meeting with Black Mountain, the billing people. It's been a problem ever since I've been here. I assume it was a problem before I was here. We did, when we came in a couple years ago, we have enforced better past due bills. I mean, we had people that had $1,000 bill, hadn't paid it for months. So it kind of skews, I guess what I'm saying, from month to month, what the actual income is.
I get it.
And add to that, we have not raised rates, for 3.5 years either. It died with the initial 5-year plan we had. When they passed that 8.5 years ago, they only added the increase to the OMM, not to the bond amount. But if you look at the way the audit looks at it, they combined it all, and we probably should have kept it on the whole amount. It was going like this, and it started going like this, and now it's, and of course, cost of things gone up, and, just the cost, just the amount of energy we pay to pump the water is amazing, $100,000.
It's just that we're still very low income here and, I always think, gosh, I don't know how some people are even paying their water bill, let alone, you hear raise and that's a tough deal because it is a lot that we're paying, so much more than.
Well, Robert touched on, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh, that's all right.
Robert touched on it a little earlier too, and you see the claims every month. Besides the increase, just like everybody, utilities, gas, if you look at what we pay to run those pumps, the electric bill, every month, and that goes back to the ARPA grant. Hopefully, many of these leaks could be fixed. That's gonna increase the capacity. I'm not gonna be dumping treated water where we don't know what's going. But we're running those pumps, and a lot of that's leaks too. It's just running through the system. It's just running through the system. So hopefully the near future, which won't be till next spring or summer, you get those leaks fixed, a lot of them, it's gonna help all this. And that was the intent.
Okay, any more questions for the big picture? Okay, so we'll start out with the salaries.
Before you begin, Robert, on the salaries, make sure I'm clear on this. For example, you'll see the police chief. I think that's the old police chief. I don't think it's as high as this.
No, that's what's in the budget, but that's the max.
But that's not what
Yeah.
the new police chief.
No. And if we hired another one in April, that may not be what it gets, but that's what's in the budget, and it could be lower. But if you look at this pay matrix, it looks like this. You see the hourly wages for everybody. That reflects that number gives you a 20-cent raise for everybody. But in a sense, the way I had to make this chart up, and make it too long, I gave it a 20% for 20 cents per year for the whole year, but it's really a 40% starting in January 1st. So the numbers, for the annual, the medical, the PERS, and total all come out right.
So it's not retroactive then?
No,
No,
but just one thing on this, we've talked about it before, whether it's revenue or whatever. I always bring out the police as an example. The last police officer we hired was $20 an hour. Has a degree in criminal justice, gonna go to the academy. Highway patrol pays 26, Ravalli County some pay 27, some pay 20. Missoula pays over 30. And then the other issue is that someday somebody's gonna need to look at is the sheriff, the highway patrol, a lot of city police departments, all of those have 20-year retirement. We have 30-year retirement. You know, it's an extra cost to the town. But if you got a young officer, like we have a bunch of them right now, and besides the 20-year retirement, they can go make $7 an hour more doing the same thing, what would you do? And you know, with all this, you see all the signs at McDonald's and Country Fried Chicken hiring $18 an hour, Walmart $21 an hour. That's what we're competing against. And especially with the police, we can't compete. We can't compete, and it's a retention issue. We have a good police force now. I'll be really frank, I think some of them might be looking, you know, because of those issues. Not that they don't like working here, not because of those reasons, but we can't continue. We want to have a police force here. We can't pay $20 an hour. So 40 cents. Sorry.
It seems to me like there'd be somewhere in the general fund, basically, that could be cut back and give the police officers. I mean, is it just the monetary amount, or is it the retirement, or is it both? I mean, I don't mean to put you on the spot, I'm sorry.
Well, the bulk of the general fund is the police.
Yeah, I know.
It's the police.
Yeah, we take up a large portion. In reality, so the last couple of years, we have been pretty decent as far as like when we go to hire someone, we usually have 5 to 6 relatively decent candidates. And I usually have some in the pipeline that I know about. When I knew I was gonna take over for Chief Sosa, and I had plans on replacing him, I had 0. Because nobody wants to work for that wage. Missoula County just got a huge raise, even their detention staff got a huge raise, where you can go work for the jail for like $34 an hour. I think the road deputies start at $34 an hour. Ravalli County just got a raise also, so I think they're gonna be starting their deputies at $29 an hour. And Hamilton just got a raise also, and I think their lowest end is 26, but anyone with an experience can start at $28 an hour. So you're talking a $6 to $15 difference, plus the 20-year, which the huge thing about the retirement thing is our job is very different. I go to work every day expecting to die. So how long do I want to go to work with that mindset? And 30 years is a long time. Most departments I've seen are 25. Around here, it seems 20 is the most common. And I'm just being frank with you.
No, I'm glad to hear that.
The cost, if the town thought about it, moving to a 20-year retirement, the cost, I did the numbers on it, it's really, the town will pay more in PERS, and that's just a little over $9,000 a year for the police we have now and the chief. So it's not, fortunate budget like this isn't huge, but in reality, it's not that huge. But it's huge to the police because you get that 10-year cost. So that's the cost to do that.
I think definitely that's something that should be done in the future. And I don't know why it hasn't been done already.
Well, again, people had said before I was here, that it was a much higher cost to go to that retirement than what it really was.
Yeah, 9,000 is doable.
Yeah. So, yeah, it needs to seriously be looked at.
Okay.
Can we make public comment on this?
When he's done, we'll take public comment. Mr. Talley.
Okay, also in the salary matrix, you'll see that the medical expenses for the town has gone up, which we've covered all. We still, in this budget, we cover all. the medical, as we did before. And that cost of the town is $8,886 a year. And then they also have the benefit of PERS, is a little bit over 0.0907% of their salary that we cover for PERS, which is turned out to, anywhere from about $4,000 to about $6,000 a year. Depends on the employee. So when you add that up, that's where you get the total of really what their compensation is for working here. Normally, it's still pretty good, but we are behind in certain areas, especially. You also see the honorariums and the salaries at the bottom of that. Probably, the only change would be for this year is we have an airport manager now instead of an employee. He's $100,000 a month stipend, so that's gonna save the airport money. And Will's doing a great job, so he's really going at it. And then you can see the salaries there, it's reflected in
I think it's less than half of what it was before.
oh yeah, and there's no benefits, and he's doing a great job, without a doubt. He's keeping it up.
Councilman Michelson.
I'll bring it up. So you proposing to knock your salary down to $12.50 a month?
15,000, I'm glad you asked. I survey through the league towns our size, some 200 people more, some 100 less. Of those 15 communities, I'm not gonna name each town's name, but here are the mayor's salaries. 12,000, 5,300, 8,400, 14,400, 9,600, 9,900, 14,400, 8,700, 6,000, Red Lodge, 4,800, round up 7,920, Three Forks, 7,200, and Townsend, 12,000. That's what mayors make in towns our size, so that's still above, way above.
Okay, any more questions on salaries? If you look on, also you look at the other sheet I gave you, this is the breakdown, the wage allocation breakdown by position, so which fund that each person's salary comes out of. Mayor's salary comes out of 6 different funds, because he manages six different those funds. Same with the finance officer, which is 6 funds. Town clerk comes 9% out of the general fund, 10% out of the building code fund. The building clerk, 45, water, 45 sewer, 10% of the building code fund. Obviously, these all come out of the general fund. And the public works, majority of them come out of water and sewer, but Steve Cruz, 25% of his salary comes out of the general fund, and one of the assistants, 25% of his salary comes out of the general fund. Then all parts, lifeguards, season maintenance, all comes out of the general fund, and anything to do with fire comes out of general fund too. And the airport comes out of the airport fund. And the council comes out of the general fund. Questions of that? That's been pretty standard. Okay, Councilman Mike.
So do we want to start on,
Well, I'd like, excuse me, if Robert's done with the overall presentation, I'd like to put public comment.
oh, okay, on that part?
So public comment,
Jim Tappan, 509 Mission Street. Regarding the police, I know it's been talked about in the past, is to turn it over to the sheriff's department. And that saves us some money. All we are right now is a training program for the highway patrol, for the sheriff's department now. We can't keep good people at those salaries. There's just no way. So my recommendation is contact the sheriff, see if we can't join forces, let him use the facilities here, whatever.
well, and Mr. Schaefer, you and Mac, for the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I've been told I've been going to be contacted by the Valley County Sheriff to actually do Mr. Tappick exploring what you're talking about, but I have not heard from him. So,
Okay, and the other subject I want to talk about is, when you mentioned about doing streets, and you're getting bids on that.
so you want,
The street repairs, okay. We have a problem on Mission Street, at least on our end of the town, where there's been so many overlays of pavement that it's made the ground higher, and when it pours, it comes down into our basement. So if you do anything on Mission, you're gonna have to dig Missions completely out, and start all over.
there's three things going on here. There's existing bars of money for 186,000, and there's another 90-some thousand, et cetera, et cetera. Through the Public Works Director, they looked at the two worst places, Spring and Railroad. However, for Mission, it's my understanding in talking to HDR on the ARPA leak fix, that could include some street repair on Mission and Buck. So till we get those bids, they're two different bids. But when I talked to those people a month ago, they pointed out with the fixing the leaks, that part of that could be what you're talking about on those other streets.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Mayor, would this be
Come
the,
on.
my name's Alvin Mello, and I live on 304 Smith. But would this be the proper time to talk about the drainage for the drainage grates on the corners, flooding?
Well, there was some confusion, and I thought Mr. Cruz was gonna be here. I don't know exactly where that area is, but he was proposing, and he left, and I didn't get a chance to talk to him, which there probably should be more than one bid. Looking at, and I don't know exactly where that area is, but it had to do with stormwater drainage. The cost for whatever that area is, I'm still not very clear where that area is,
Right.
was 21 grand. Now, that could come out of Barstow, but I think the council, we've been through this before, if we get up to something over 20,000, whether it's in Barstow or not, we probably,
Get a bid, yeah.
and all I saw, Janelle, correct, but that is being looked at, yes.
Yeah, because that's been flooding for the last 16, 18
And I
years.
know that, I saw it,
And, yeah, so that's under consideration then. Thank you.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, I guess I'll just ask the council how you wish to proceed. If you have suggested changes, if you want to suggest to take something out, or you want to add someplace else, then if you are requesting to add someplace else, you need to have a proposal in my mind as where that money comes from. So,
Darn.
Councilman Michaels.
Okay, under page 1 of 44, legislative services. Anything for, this is for the council, travel or lodging?
There was, we reduced, when you're in these times, we reduced our travel, we reduced the court's travel, we reduced the fire department's travel, we reduced them all, other than what's mandatory. Then again, if you want, you're talking about the annual meeting in Fairmont,
Yeah,
you can suggest a dollar amount, and then I would assume you're gonna support the reduction in the mayor's salary to offset it.
or council salary.
Well, council salary, you only get $275 a month. So, it's up to you.
So how many trainings a year are the other employees going to?
Right now, it's all online. Except for the judge and the court clerk, it's mandatory, they just went.
I was gonna say, I saw that in the claims.
But you should go twice. So we cut that. Cut mine from 2,000 to 500.
And to me, it's very important that the council goes to these trainings because it is something that we do take a lot away from. And there's a lot of different bills that are placed in front of us too that we, watch.
And I'm not denying that, so I guess, I don't know how much you're proposing. I don't know if you.
What was it last year? How much was it?
2,000, I think.
No, it's more than that, because we got computers, didn't we, Robert, last year?
We did get computers out of that.
Yeah,
$7,000, wasn't it?
If you look over on, it says on your expenditure sheet on 22, 23, it says what you actually spent the money on. So non-capital, you guys spent almost $5,000 on computers and that other equipment. And travel last year was basically $1,900.
So it was like 7,000.
19, well, yeah, but the training, what you're talking about was less than 2,000.
Right. I was not getting into the computer part of it.
So if you want to make a proposal for a certain amount for the training at Fairmont, then that's up to you.
Like 2,000, do you know, Stacy?
Where did you go last year?
I went to
I went to
Bozeman.
Bozeman.
So it's probably
less.
a little less. Fairmont, that's the size of you.
And there was 2 of us last year, there might be, Wally's coming aboard in January, he'll probably want to go.
It's up to you.
Because it was what, a little over 200 and something even for lodging, I think.
Yeah,
How much was it last year, Robert?
225 per person for lodging, and then the training itself.
Yeah, mileage. You both run the same vehicle, I don't remember.
I'm sorry.
what mileage was.
I'm sorry, it was, the training costs, what was it, 225 per person, and then the lodging was, the whole lodging was 125 with the mileage. Correction, 544 with the mileage. Excuse my dyslexia and numbers. So the whole, sometimes it's hard to look at, your whole training last year was 1,000, right around 1,000. If you look at it, that's what we spent.
For training.
Through the insurance center, 1,000 was what you spent.
Yeah, the 2 years trip, I think, was a little less than $1,000 total mileage.
Yeah.
So even if we went with 2,000, I think that would still, because if you have 2 other council members that decide to go on that, they're gonna have extra expense on that as well.
It's gonna be tight with 2, or tight with 3.
Don't we have a city vehicle that everybody could go in one car?
Got the courtesy car. Got about 230,000 on it.
Non-insured.
Well,
It's not, yeah, sorry.
As if you announced it, you could still, all 4 could go in the same vehicle.
Yeah, you,
That would save
Yeah.
you.
And it still saves. And I don't know how others feel about, using the same rooms or whatever. I'm totally okay with that. I mean, it's not, to me, that would save on costs as well.
well, I would just suggest you make an amendment to add whatever amount you want to add to that.
I think it's only fair.
25 cover it
Yeah, if we have extra, we have extra.
for 3.
So you need to make an amendment to the budget to add 2,500 to the legislative services for training.
Yes.
Councilman Michael.
I make a motion to amend the budget to add $2,500 to legislative services on travel, lodging, and training services.
Councilman Barker.
I'll second the motion.
Any public comment? See none. Any further discussion? So you have an amendment, you're voting on an amendment, basically to add $2,500 to, it's called legislative, right, Robert?
Yep.
For training. Okay. Janelle, please take the vote.
Councilmember Barker. Aye. Councilmember Brown. Aye. Councilmember Lowell.
Aye.
And Councilmember Michelson.
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Councilman Wentz.
Yeah, I also have, Robert, I don't see anywhere where we funded our local government review next year in January.
AFR,
Huh?
the AFR?
No, the 10-year review that we have to do by law.
What he's talking about, Robert, I probably failed to mention this to you. And the town didn't do it the other 10 years. Every 10 years, the town has to go to a public vote to talk about the charter. They want to change it, disincorporate, add council, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know what the actual cost is. I wouldn't think it's much more than, when we did away with the election this year, it was what, $900,000? So you probably want to add it in there. What it is it's the law, which Stevensville violated before. Every 10 years, you're supposed to take a public vote as to how you want your town to operate. So there has to be an election.
Anyway, it's under the bar code or whatever that Gina gave us. It's 411870 under local government review. That would be the line item that we would have to put it under. And I called Nancy earlier today. You mentioned when you did it, when you were there, you said $5,000 or something.
I think it was about 5,000, and that's just off the top of my head. I think you do have to have an odd number of people, and, as I recall, though, the only thing we really needed were copies of things, so I bet 500 would be sufficient.
When I was on the board of league, they didn't mention any number like 5,000.
Yeah,
I don't think it's that much.
we were pretty flush back
I
then.
think you would be safe, and you can always come back, because that doesn't happen until 2014. I would say be safe to put $1,000.
So we canceled the election, correct?
Mhm.
We don't have, so we have
Cancel, well, this would be next year.
This is next year for the local government.
What month?
It would be probably the general election of 2024 in November.
It says in February of 2024, you adopt a resolution to place on the ballot the question of establishing a study commission that includes a number of commissioners, the amount of funding not to exceed blah, 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 MCA. Then you go up to June, you do a local government review election, because it goes on the ballot, and then people decide whether they want to keep the government the same or they want to change. And if they have a change, then then it gets hairy. You appoint a commission, you have people on there with the public, then it gets real.
I
So,
think you're safe at this point. I wouldn't add more than $1,000. So you can make an amendment to add that in, Robert, under that section. I'm still not clear, though, whether the election, it probably would be a mail ballot, which makes it less.
Right.
Go ahead.
Normally, in the county, if we piggyback on another election like the mill levy or any of that, the county would run that for our town. They give us the bill. And so it'll be in the June, probably June mill, whatever they do for the schools. It's normally when they do that. So, the more people that go in on those elections and the more stuff goes on the ballot, the cost goes
Yeah, I
down.
really think you need to wait and see exactly, because it might be in next year's budget.
Right now we have $1,600 for an election, which we're not gonna do, which theoretically, that's what we would pay the county, to run our election portion of it, maybe not the study. But we could then move, if you wanna add more money, we'd add more money to that.
Councilmember Mikeson, I see a hand out here. It's a little unusual, but I know this person's involved in elections quite a bit. Leslie, if you want to say something.
Sure. Well, I was wondering if you couldn't piggyback it off of the primary, which will be in June 24. Could you piggyback it off of that and talk to Regina?
See, that's why I think it's premature to say how much it's going to cost. I think you just have to do it.
we'd have to do it one or the other.
Yeah, when that time comes, I think that's when you have a clearer picture of what it's going to cost. I don't think we have a clear picture of that right now. So I don't think you need to put money in right now. You can always do a budget amendment.
Sure.
I don't think you need to put in money.
I don't think we should do a budget amendment then.
By now, till we really find out. It could channel in to the next budget. And we don't know what the cost is. As Ms. Tadvick said, there's other options. You still are gonna do it.
Yeah, you still have to adopt a resolution by February.
Absolutely.
Next year.
That has nothing to do with right now with the money.
It says you have to put an amount in there, not to exceed such and such, so I'm just saying. Just going by what they told us the local governments.
I don't like putting in amounts when I don't know what they are. There's no, you have to do the resolution, I agree 100%. I think you'll have a clearer picture and then you could do a budget amendment.
Okay.
Regina up at the election office would be able to give you that information, too, I think.
Okay.
Okay? Any others?
I just have a couple things, nothing major. I just noticed that, and I know there's not a lot you can do about it, our court is costing us about $78,000, and we only brought in $13,500 in revenue. So I don't know.
Well, to remind, and I don't know if you were here, no, you weren't here. The council approved to double the judge's salary from 18 to 36,000.
For 2 days or 1 day a week? Well, that's a lot of money.
Councilman Wax.
We can't go back. We were told by the judge that it was set at 3 years. It should be set at 3 years. And I thought it was 1. So when we approved it, when I went back and looked, it is, by law, the council can look at the salary every year of the judge.
Okay, well, I
On
think
an
that's
annual basis.
something,
On an annual basis.
I won't be here with it, I think that should be reviewed. And the other thing that I kind of have, I wondered about is the swimming pool. And just last year, I'm not sure what the salaries were, they were quite high, but it was costing about 27,000, let's say, plus the benefits almost 2,500, and the revenue was 14,000. And I do know, the pool was down and all that, but it just seems like possibly they might want to
I thought the lifeguards only made,
cut back on it.
the lifeguards only made $12 an hour. Tina, you remember?
Some of them made 13, some of them, I think it averaged out around 12, but there was a few that made 13, because apparently every year that they got back, they get $1 an hour raise or something like that from the prior year.
Oh, I don't know anything about that, but it just seemed, that's a little bit out of whack. And maybe too many lifeguards. I mean, I know people say you can't have too many lifeguards, but you don't need 10,
No, I think it should be looked at.
Yeah, I do
But
too.
but the fact is, the pools lost money every year. We raised some of the fees on a minimal scale last year. It loses money every year. There were, I know Missoula cut way back on their hours because of the lost revenue. I know that some places, they couldn't get lifeguards. They were jumping up the prices even more because they couldn't be around the pool. I mean, your point is well taken.
Right.
But the real point is, in my opinion, I don't see how you can continue to operate this 1956 pool at the cost it is. And hopefully, maybe someday soon, community, whatever, I know people have chipped in generously, but it's gonna take a lot more than that you're gonna have to look at grants or something. You cannot continue to operate a 1956 pool. And if you wanna look at revenue, in my opinion, and I don't know how they got all the revenue, I would look at Hamilton. Future, I would think you'd make it an aquatic center, year-round. Your revenue would be seniors, therapy, all kinds of things. You can't continue to operate this pool at the amount of money we take in. Councilman White.
My old hometown, Chinook, Montana, had the same problem. And what they did is they created a recreational district, not just within the city limits, but they went out in the outlying area, because as with here, a lot of the kids that come here don't live in the town of Stevensville. They live out in the outskirts, but they're still using our services. So what they did is they created that, and then it passed, so they're generating money for grants and everything in Chinook to do their pool. And that's something I think the town of Stevensville should seriously look at in the next year or two.
And I talked to Steve Laster, I believe, some time ago, a little bit about that. And when we looked at the fee, I think that's what Hamilton does. Joel, do you remember that?
Some discussion about that, where it's
But Hamilton, I do think, does something like what you're talking about.
beyond just the city or the town's taxes, and there's something more to that. Roundup was one of those that did that, and they ended up with a really nice.
Yeah, Roundup's another one.
Yeah.
Lewistown too, they created a rural recreational district, and it brought those people's tax money in, because it bond passed. So,
Yeah, I think all those things need to be looked at. Okay, any others? Councilmember Brown.
I have a question about, the salary for the building and how much money we bring in from our permits. It seems like, to me, that we're losing money in that too.
We're not losing money, we're just not making a lot of money like we used to.
Okay,
Actually, before, I think, Robert, you were here, it used to be a full-time position.
For the full-time
And
position.
now that it's contracted, it costs less than when it was a full-time position.
We're still putting money in, and we're able to spend that money down, that's a good thing. He gets like 90%, 80%, then it breaks off into the planning fund, he gets 5% in there, and then we get the rest.
We're in the 10th month here, and I've only had 23 building
That's
permits,
still, it's just gone down to nothing this year.
only 14 electrical permits, and I think 12 plumbing permits. Really slow this year.
But what happened a couple of years ago too, and that's where you got nailed in the audit, was you had the big new school building. The town took in a big amount of money for that school project with that bond, but people didn't realize that was one time only. That was a lot of money. I don't remember how much. That was before I was here.
That was a lot.
But actually it costs less now than it did before.
The best thing to say is that fund is doing what it needs to do. It needs to just give us a little bit of money to pay for some of the salaries, to take in the permits and stuff like that. And it shouldn't be making money for anything else. That's the idea of it.
okay. So we might need to consider maybe increasing a little bit of those fees for the permits.
I'm not sure. We got for the last 3 or 4 years, we got trouble with our audit for having too much money in that fund.
Okay,
And so we needed to drive down.
okay,
And hopefully we'll meet the mark this year, and then should just give us enough to pay for what we need, and then a little bit of reserve fund, and then that's where it should stay. But it's never gonna go, hopefully it'll never build back up again, because it's not designed to do that. Just designed for the program of building infection.
Is there anything else? Councilmember Bartlett.
Sidewalk improvements, this has been something that's been talked about over the years that a lot of people don't understand on sidewalks. And if there was a way that we clarified that a little bit more, that it's not the town's responsibility to take care of the sidewalks in front of the residents.
It's not, but it is ours downtown.
Correct, downtown it is, but we have nothing in here again.
Right.
So is there a way, sometime, as a council, we probably need to look at that again, is putting money back into that fund somewhere. Not sure where we would get it from, but
There was talk this session back to Barca. They loosened some things up with Barca, you know, to get the payments. I think that's something that should really be looked at, is part of that Barca funds to use for sidewalks, not just streets. Right now it's pretty much restricted to streets. But there's a lot of push from the League of Towns, some legislators, about a portion of the Barca money being used for sidewalks.
And it's important.
No, absolutely. So I think that, I can't say it's gonna happen.
No, but I mean, it's something that as a council or, you know, down the
Absolutely.
road into the future, that's something that we really need to look at.
Yeah, we
because
gotta fix some.
At one time, obviously 2021, 22, there was money there. And now we have nothing there, so.
Well, again, we're kind of back to the sale of the land.
Yeah.
Councilor Mike.
Yeah, but I believe the previous mayor used some of that sidewalk money for Third Street. When we did the paving over there, because there was money there, right, Robert, and it was gone. So that's how I saw it, I went on the council.
And to be fair, in the future, again, to the fire department, the police, you're gonna have to come up with a way to build these capital projects. You know, I mean, historically, and Robert, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think what most places do, they build that up over a 3-year period or a 4-year period. So that money is actually there to fix a fire truck. That money was not there, and that's very unfortunate. But that's something that's gotta be looked at, not just with sidewalks. I mean, whether the Valley County Sheriff comes in or not, you're gonna have to replace a cop car pretty soon. You're gonna have to replace some fire equipment pretty soon. You know, and right now, that's all out of the general fund. That's where it comes from.
And that's already tapped out.
Yeah. So no, those are all, yeah, that really needs, you're right, and Stacy, even with the sidewalks, those whole issues, and we talked about a year and a half ago with Mr. Cruz about some of those, where the tree wells are. And, you know, some of the bricks are up, some of the bricks are down. And I've had mild complaints from some business owners that it appears you don't see the roots, but it seems like they're pushing up the sidewalk. So when it rains really hard, the water drains toward their business.
Yeah, and that was something that we had talked in our parks meeting too, was getting some type of grade. And I know that Steve Lassiter had also spoke with, like, I think it was an arborist, to find out exactly what we needed to do with that, because it is a big hazard.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, at the time it looked pretty coming in,
Yeah.
the bricks looked pretty, but to figure out, you know, if we put pea gravel in there and some type of, you know, to kind of balance it, and then somehow.
Yep.
But yeah,
No, you're right, you're
and
exactly right.
so hopefully that's something we can save some of the money for the.
So
Thomas
anything,
Fund.
anything else, Councilman Brown?
And I can't find it on the new one that you gave us, Robert, but on the one that I printed off from the agenda package. Under the airport, could you explain to me, it's, under the airport account, 350 professional services, and that was $22,012?
Yeah, okay, so that one is, let me get the account. They're, 350, right? Okay, so,
Under the airport,
yep, the airport. Okay, so in that, it's 22,000. In that is 5,000 for the annual audit. Okay, and we have,
okay,
mowing, 5,000, and we have to pay $17,000 for the master plan, our cost share.
okay, so that's part of that is the master plan.
Yes, 17,000.
I couldn't figure out why it was so high.
I'm talking to Will, there's gonna be some more discussion on this master plan as to what actually we're responsible for. He's talking to the FAA. I'll tell you, Will is gonna, you're gonna take care of that. Councilman Wexler.
I know this came up at last year's budget time, was talk about surplus, and I know that was one of the reasons we got the airport car brought back down here, we were gonna surplus that out. I think we had mentioned the COVID ambulance that we used. So I would suggest that whoever the next mayor is, that maybe that he would get together and do a surplus sale, and that would raise some revenue for the town also.
Well, I think you can propose it right now. I mean, we've talked about it forever.
Do
We
it.
don't know how much we get. You know, and there's a couple, there's an old vehicle of Public Works, there's the airport car.
Ambulance.
Yeah, I mean, we can't put a dollar amount, but.
Well, no, but I mean, whatever we
You want to
get.
make an amendment to surplus unneeded stuff. Councilman Mike?
I make a motion to make an amendment to have a surplus sale, which would include the COVID ambulance, the airport car,
I think there's another vehicle of Public Works too.
public works vehicle, maybe two, whatever we can scrounge up. I think we should have a surplus sale on that, would add revenue to the town.
But I would include not just vehicles, I mean,
Yeah, anything we have.
so I,
Old computers.
yeah, I just make I don't think we put a dollar amount, but I suggest an amendment. So we want to make an amendment?
Yeah.
Okay, Councilman Mike?
I make a motion, amendment, to add a surplus sale to whatever we can scrounge up.
Okay. Second? Councilman Mike?
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Got a motion, second, any public comment? See none? Janelle will take the vote.
Councilmember Barker? Aye. Councilmember Brown?
Aye.
Councilmember Lowell?
Aye.
And Councilmember Michelson?
Aye.
Passes 4-0. So, are we ready to? What?
But one last positive thing to say, okay, because we didn't talk about revenues too much, but I would like to bring this to everybody's attention here. Routine in what the mayor done in the last month or so. They've rounded up all our CDs, moved them out of the low-paying CDs into a, I don't know what the name of the account type is, into a public fund account, which gives us 4% on our money. Which is, when you look at the revenue budget, you'll see the investment income, usually within, maybe a couple $100 a month, but we used to get off the CDs. Now we're talking 1,000.
I was gonna bring that up in the executive report. Gina did an excellent job with this. In a rather quick period of time, it's actually gonna bring in revenue. We had what, some at 0.5%?
0.1.
So, no, Gina did an excellent job with that. So that'll help in the future.
Didn't you mention yesterday, you showed me, wasn't it? Is that 53,000 or something?
That's what it's roughly going to be for a year.
Yeah, for a year, $53,000 we're gonna get off that.
It's a big amount.
That's a lot.
Okay. We entertain a motion to pass the budget with these amendments?
I think that was just public hearing, is discussion.
Councilman Brown?
I have one more question.
Sure.
Do we need to do a budget amendment for the amount of money that we're supposed to be getting back from the court case? That was on Tuesday.
Oh, you mean the restitution?
Yes. I don't know when or how is it
There's no
supposed to
way.
be coming in.
I think it's a 18-month suspended sentence, which tells me that that individual has 18 months to pay back that restitution. And that could be $10 a month, that could be $20 a month, I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know how it works in the criminal justice system, and you get restitution, you have so long to pay it, but you just gotta pay a little bit here and a little bit there, or you can pay the whole amount, but there's no way to know that.
Okay, I just,
No, no, there's no way to know.
I didn't know
I think it's 28,000 something.
142 or something like that.
But, it's 18 months.
Correct. I didn't know if
No.
anything was known about payments.
We have no control of that. Okay, with that, could we entertain a motion to,
Do we not close this?
Excuse
You
me?
have to close the public hearing first.
yeah, we'll do that.
Oh, before we close, I have one more question. Just, since we're changing the airport manager from a salary position to stipend, do we need to do a resolution for that?
Well, it's already been done.
Oh.
He's getting $1,000 a month. It's already been done.
I don't believe it was a conversation or something when I was on here.
Excuse me?
That, when that came up, it was a conversation. It wasn't a discussion decision, so there was no
Well,
resolution.
there
that
was a
was done on that.
discussion, and we talked about it, we went through the attorney and said,
Yeah, but there was no resolution.
it
that
have to be
supported
a
it.
resolution.
I think you still have to have it has to be brought forward, just like your wages will, by resolution.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well, if you do that,
Well, you would do right now, I mean, it could be.
you can do it now, I guess, you can do it now, except it hasn't been,
I have it noticed for resolution.
hasn't been noticed as a resolution.
Right, I said, could we put it on the next meeting?
Right, but it's in your budget right now, though.
So once you pass the budget.
It's in the budget right now,
We just put it in.
in my opinion,
Okay.
in my opinion, if you truly budget, you do the next meeting, the resolution on the airport salary. Because it's not gonna
But you won't
change the
need to.
budget.
You won't need to.
No, it's a paper thing.
Yeah, so we can do that in the next meeting, we'll do a resolution to approve the
That way it's
airport manager's salary.
That way, down the road, somebody looks and says, well, where was this, instead of looking through the budget, they can go to the resolution and say, this is where we made the change to $1,000.
So we have a motion to pass the budget as amended.
First, we need to close it.
I'll close the public hearing. So we need a motion to close the public hearing. Councilmember Brown,
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
thank you. Councilmember Park,
I'll second the motion.
thank you. Any public comment? Seeing none, then if we could make a motion to pass the budget as amended. Take a vote to close the public hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Janelle, take a vote to close the public hearing, please.
Councilmember Barker? Aye. Councilmember Brown?
Aye.
Councilmember Lowell?
Aye.
And Councilmember Michelson?
Passes 4-0. Okay, now we could have a motion to pass the budget as amended. Councilmember Mike,
I make a motion to pass the fiscal year 2023, 2024 budget as amended.
thank you. Is there a second? Need a second? Councilmember Brown?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any public comment? Seeing none, any further discussion? This is the motion to pass this budget as amended. Janelle, please take the vote.
Councilmember Barker? No. Councilmember Brown?
No.
Councilmember Lowell? No. And Councilmember Michelson?
No.
So what do you want to do?
I just need to review
All right,
it
I-
more.
I-
I had some changes
There's a
That's
lot
fine.
on this. It's
That's fine. So
nothing.
we'll put on the final budget approval for October 26th. Along, we can do your resolutions that time too on the airport side.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. The only board report, I think, is the airport board.
The airport board meeting, was Tuesday night. Will's report is pretty much what he covered. Will is working very hard to collect past due revenues from up there at the airport. He was hoping to get out the hard copies and the invoices. There's several people that he's, trying to still get, current contact information for. with the invoices, he's sending out a form to get current addresses, telephone numbers and email addresses. The airport is still looking at revenue of selling some of the gravel. They have now another person interested besides the county in that gravel. They were supposed to have a conference call on the 11th with the FAA. We're going to have another airport board meeting, I believe. Did they get it
Look at the
scheduled?
16th, I just published it.
Okay, the 16th, because they realize they have, their engineer has, needed to be reselected. They need to do that every couple of years of reselecting a planning and an engineer firm. So that needs to be done, right away. And that was about it on the airport. Oh, and by the way, thank you for whoever put in their little comment that they need to start putting their meetings correctly.
Any council comments? Councilman Barton?
I just want to say thank you to the Civic Club that actually helped put on the Scarecrow Festival. I think it was very well attended. I only went down Friday, but it looked like the streets were full. And I think those guys did a really good job, especially on the safety side of it, making sure that, everybody was safe, not having it out there on the bike path. I know that there was a lot of comments about they like it out there because it's the spooky effect, whatever. But I believe without having people to cross that from East Side Highway was a good blessing.
Yeah,
Kudos to those.
what I was told is probably was one of the best turnouts by doing it downtown. They almost had the same amount.
I think we did. It was, she said there was 59, I think, or 56, somewhere around there, scarecrows, so.
Okay. Councilman Brown?
I want to thank Gina and all the people who worked on the budget, bringing this forward. And especially for explaining the codes and everything. She took time to explain those to me, so I understand them a little bit better. Thank you very much for doing that.
Executive report, brief. In the next 2 or 3 weeks, I will be doing an official letter of resignation. Talked about my health, etc. My intent is November 21st. Will be my last day. My 72nd birthday. Depends on some doctor appointments, but you will get an official resignation letter. It'll go to the council. It'll go to Janelle. It'll go to the attorney, and it also will point out what the procedures are legally to replace the maker. So maybe I'll do that on Halloween, but it'll be in the next 2 or 3 weeks. With that, we'll adjourn.
Would that be a trick or a treat?
Downstairs here.